All right. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good weekend. This is our Monday morning conference call. I want to pick up right where we left off last week, talking about ways to generate income and ways to grow wealth. I told you last week that there's three main ways that people can generate income or generate wealth. Number one being the most popular way. About 96% of the world's population trade time for money. If you work a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 or whatever, you're trading your time for money. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is a very popular way of making a living. The problem is for someone who is motivated to be more wealthy or to do more. You're limited by the amount of hours in a day. There's only 24 hours in a day. I don't care who you are. Everybody's has the same amount of time. You can only work so much. You have to sleep. You have to rest. You have to recharge. And so, but I want to elaborate a little bit on that. There are ways to increase the amount of money you make, even in that area. You can make sure that you do what you need to do to make your time more valuable, to be able to charge more by being more specialized in your field, to have more knowledge, to get more education. I just went to a graduation party for a friend of mine, and she just received her master's. She did that. She was done with school, and she decided to go a little longer so her time would be more valuable. And because her time's more valuable, whoever employs her has to pay more for that time. But you're still limited by that. And once you've maximized what you can cause your time to be worth, you're still limited to hours in a day. But then we add to that, and there's another level where we not just trade time for money, but we trade money for money. It's called investing. And whether you do that in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or real estate or a different business, what have you, you're investing your money for money, and it's a great avenue to create wealth. But I want to get to the 1% of the world's population, that 1% of the population of the world that controls 90% of all of the wealth in the world. And the way they amass wealth, the way that they create massive amounts of money is through creating multiple streams of income. And what I mean by that, instead of just trading their time for money and their money for money, they help others to make money, and they trade other people's time for their money. See, I told you there's only so many days so many hours in a work day. Maybe you work 8 hours a day, or maybe you work 10 hours a day. That's what you've got. But the way you multiply that is, I can take my 10 hours a day, and then I can train someone to do what I do, and I can take their 10 hours. And now all of a sudden I've got 20 hours in a day. I can bring someone else in and do it a second time, and now I've got 30 hours in a day. And now I'm multiplying myself by creating different avenues and different streams of income. See, different streams of income does not mean find a second job or find a side hustle. You're still trading time for money. You're just splitting that time. And a lot of times, instead of making your time more valuable, you make your time less valuable. We don't want to just split time and create another job of this, but we want to learn how to multiply ourselves and to duplicate ourselves and create other sources of income by training people to do what we want to do. So how do we do this? But we spend a lot of time talking about recruiting. I spend a lot of time recruiting on the weekends, on Thursdays and Fridays, and my partner Justin does, our managers do. Hopefully you're doing the same, and we've got a lot of programs to help you with recruiting and with the recruiting process. We've got our road shows that are about to kick off. You see us advertising that. We're getting ready to go on tour and do several cities in a few different days, and 2 cities a day for 3 or 4 days, and we're real excited about that. But you got to get yourself ready as well for that, because it does not matter how many people you recruit if you don't know how to lead them. And so that's what I want to get to today, and I'll try to be quick. But this thought kind of hit me Sunday or yesterday. I was at the gym, and I listen to the same music every time I work out, and I just wanted to kind of go to something different. So I typed in workout music in Spotify, and it put me on a playlist that looked like it would be pretty good to work out with. So I hit play on the playlist, and I heard 3 songs back to back about I'm a boss, or be the boss, or boss this, or boss that. And it's something we see a lot of hashtags on Instagram will say boss man, or boss lady, or boss babe. And you know, I got to thinking about what it means to be a boss. And you know, BB King years ago had a song that says, I'm paying the cost to be the boss. It's kind of hard sometimes, kind of heavy. I know I'm going to tell my age a little bit, but I was in high school when Snoop Dogg come out with his very first album. And I still listen to it sometimes. And I noticed he had an album that came out just a few years ago, and the title of that album was I Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. And you know, that's what I kind of got to thinking about yesterday and today is, what does it mean to pay the cost to be the boss? Because everybody wants to be the boss, or the CEO, or the entrepreneur. And listen, you know, it's not hard to be a CEO. You start a LLC, go online, incorporate for about, you know, $200. You don't even need an attorney, and then name yourself CEO, give yourself that title, you know, but it doesn't mean anything. You know, to be a boss doesn't necessarily mean you've got 10 or 20 employees. It absolutely does not start there. It starts with you and being a boss to yourself, being a boss in your life. And what do you hold yourself accountable to? What levels do you hold yourself to? What goals do you set for yourself? And so that's what I want to talk about. You know, I want to be the boss of myself, the boss of my day. I want to hold myself accountable. I want to set goals. All of these things I want to do in my life for me. You know, I've got people that answer to me and that report to me, and that work with me. We don't like to say work for me, but work with me, and they're held accountable by me. But there's one person that I hold accountable higher. I set a higher standard for than anybody else, and that's myself. I know what I require from myself. I know what time I'm going to get up in the morning. I know what time I'm going to go to bed at night. I know how many calls I'm going to make. I know how many hours in a day I'm going to work. I know how much, you know, I want my income to be at the end of the year, or how much I want my net worth to be at the end of next year. I've got all of these goals and all these numbers written down and also in my mind, because I hold myself to a high standard, because I'm the boss of me. You know, I create my culture in life. I create my net worth, and I create my own economy by being the boss, by being a boss, by being my boss. And I hold myself to a certain standard. That's why if you are connected with me in business, I don't mind holding you to a standard. I don't mind setting goals. I don't mind, you know, requiring certain things, because I require it of myself. You know, if you've got 5 or 6 employees and you run a company, and, you know, one of these employees comes in late for work every single day, eventually, and it becomes a pattern, eventually you've got to deal with that. If you don't deal with that, it'll bleed over into all the others. But if you set the example, and you do things on time, and you do the things that you say that you're going to do, you have no problem dealing with it, because you hold yourself to that standard. So you don't have a problem holding others to that standard. So this is, you know, what I'm talking about is kind of like the John Maxwell law of attraction, where he talks about, you know, in leadership, the law of attraction works this way. You will attract people who are just a little bit less than you are at whatever level. So if you're on a scale from 1 to 10, if you're a 7 when it comes to leadership abilities or management abilities, then you're going to probably attract about a 5 or a 6 at the best. But you'll never attract anyone that's more qualified, or that has a higher standard than you do. So set your standards high, so that you'll attract quality people. If you look around in your life and you realize it's bums and deadbeats you hang out with, you got to look in the mirror. You've got to ask yourself, why do I attract these type of people into my life? Be a boss in your life. Do the things you need to do to get yourself on up the ladder a little bit higher, to get yourself from a 4 or 5 to a 7 to an 8 to a 9, even a 10. Max it out if you can. Do the things that you need to do, but hold yourself to a high standard, right? Make lists every day. My one job, I'll tell you this, and then I'll get off of here, but one of the first jobs I have I had when I was younger was for a guy. I worked for a family, and the youngest son's name was Trey. And every morning when I would come in, I would go to my little office. I didn't really have an office, but I had kind of a workstation, a little area. And Trey would always have a list, especially on Mondays. He said, John, these are the things that we need to accomplish for the week. These are the things that need to get done today. These are the most pressing matters. He was very professional. He did everything just right. And he always had his little notes, and I'd always laugh and kind of make fun. I got your note, buddy. I got your little love letter. And you know, we kind of joke, but he was such a good manager, such a good boss. And he'd have that. And one day we were working, and we dressed up for this job, and I watched him reach down in his suit pocket, and he grabbed something, and he'd look at it, and he'd kind of close his eyes and think. He'd put back in. I said, Trey, what's that? He said, it's my list. I said, I got your list right here, buddy. I got everything done. He said, no, this is my list. This is the list I make for myself. I make all of y'all lists, but I make lists for myself. And before I leave today, I got to get this list finished. And it taught me so much about leadership that he has his own list. Not only did he give out a list to everybody else, but he gave he gave himself a list. He set the standard high for himself. See, before he was my boss man, he was his own boss man. So I want to encourage you this week. You know, we got a brand new week, a brand new day. We're easing into this month. Summer's almost upon us. There's going to be some vacations coming up. Earn them vacations. Don't go on vacation this year stressed out, worried, thinking I don't need to be here. I need to be working. I don't really have the money. I really can't afford this, but I want to do it. Get out there, afford it, have fun with it, have some extra money, be able to relax and enjoy yourself because you paid the price, or let me put it the way Snoop did. You paid the cost to be the boss and to do the things that you get to do and that you deserve to do because you worked hard. Be a boss this week.